come back for the second. India have won the test match. India have won the series.
They're going to get back for two. India at home. Lords goes wild.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the 81 All Out podcast. I'm Siddhartha Vaidyanathan at Sidvi on Twitter. And I'm joined by a very special guest today, someone who has been covering cricket for 53 years. And I would love to welcome Mr. Or should I say Dr. Makarand Waingankar to the podcast. Hello, Makarand. Welcome to 81 All Out.
Hello, Siddharth.
Yes,
how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much. And I must tell our listeners that Makarand is a veteran cricket journalist, a columnist, and an author. I'm sure anyone who has been following Indian cricket for a decent span of time would know about Makarand. He's also worn several hats as an administrator, as a mentor, as a talent spotter extraordinaire, and has been a key figure in several stages in Indian cricket for the last 50 plus years. So on that note, Makarand, welcome again. And I would love for you to begin going back, let's go back 50 years, say to the late 60s, 1968 is when you began. Can you tell us a bit about the cricket at that time, the early stages of your career, where it began, and what are your memories from that time?
My first day in journalism, the editor told me that your job is just like fire brigade officer, a fireman. You got to be mobile, alert 24/7, 365 days. And that was something which I had not expected. Here is a person who was telling me that you got to be alert even past midnight. And recently when I called up a young journalist and asked him, where are you? He said, I'm sitting at the Washi station, which is a suburban station, and he was filing a copy on a mobile. So just imagine, I was told to be mobile, and here the young journalist now was filing a 400 word in copy on mobile. So much of difference.
He was actually mobile.
And look, the thing is, let me not criticize the modern journalists. They are lucky they got all these gadgets. But I remember when I was in Sports Week with Sharad Kotnis, the real taskmaster as editor, 36 pages, and we were only 2 or 3 people, and proofreading and everything would go on. And the publication was printed about 10 kilometers away. So on Monday, we would take the galley and everything with us in the taxi to Worli. And the whole day and night, we would work with those galley operators. First proof, second proof, God knows how many proofreading used to go on. And by Tuesday morning, by 7:38, the Sports Week would be ready. Monday morning, Sharad Kotnis was always on short fuse. Just imagine the tension that he was carrying of 36 pages. Not a single mistake. No mistakes would occur. But the focus was 24 hours. No dinner, eat some pav bhaji or masala dosa and all that. But there was absolutely 24 hours. And Tuesday morning, it so happened that the first day of Diwali, where we have the morning bath at 4 o'clock, I came home at 9. Imagine what my mother must have done. She yelled at me to such an extent. She said, either you stay in this house or I stay. Because she was very annoyed. But then that happened to be Tuesday, and that was the closing day of the magazine. So there was no question, there was no Diwali, nothing. Everything on Tuesday stopped. Everything has to be there. And some people, BB Mama, the statistician, would send on a postcard all the scores and all the records and stats and all that from Panchgani, where he was working. Panchgani is a hill station near Mahabaleshwar. It was fun. To tell you frankly, Siddharth, it was fun. It was hard work. And we had to go into Maidan, cover matches, profile, spotlight on youth.
So
Yeah.
in 1968, when you started, which publication did you begin with?
First article was in Indian Express.
Okay.
And I covered that series of 1968-69 against Australia. The first test match I did not cover, where the stadium was burnt. Certain part of the stadium, Brahma Stadium, was burnt. And the Bill Lawry's team. I remember the Delhi test match. On the fourth day, Bishan Bedi and Prasanna were turning the ball square. And they were bundled out for 101. I think Bill Lawry carried the bat through. Next day, India were to chase 192, and we won with 8 wickets. There's something which, how wicket improved overnight is still a mystery.
Interesting. So in the early years when you were covering, were you covering both international and domestic and the league and everything, or like it was just a combination of all cricket, right?
From Maidan cricket, which I enjoyed the most. And I would stand right behind the side screen on Maidan in month of April and May, that heat. Because being a connoisseur of the game, I wanted to check everything, the swing, the spin, the length, everything. Once, when Frank Tyson was in Bombay for the BCA-Mafatlal Academy scheme, then he contacted, told me, you take Frank to Azad Maidan, let him see what Bombay cricket is. And I took him to Parsi Cyclist ground, and he asked me, why is that short extra cover standing with a back to the batsman? I said, he is the third man of the other match. And he was the third man of the other match.
Yeah.
And sometimes the bowler's run-up would be through the slips of the other match.
Yeah.
And he just couldn't believe. He says, how many people have died till now? I said, nobody. You get injured. Sometimes a fielder goes and takes a brilliant catch, and then he finds out that he has taken catch of the other match. So, it's fun. Maidan cricket, Ranji Trophy cricket, I used to travel with the Bombay team. We used to have breakfast or meal, dinner, everything with the Bombay team. It was fun, real fun. We got to know players got to know us. But well, that did not mean that we did not criticize them. They were absolutely fair. Not once did they tell us, oh, why did you write this? No, which is not the case today. Players are very, very touchy, and the journalism also has changed. The perception has changed completely.
Yeah, so I must tell our listeners that Makarand has written quite a few books on cricket, and one of my favorite books on Indian cricket is that he has written is A Million Broken Windows. It is a wonderful book about the history of cricket in Bombay or Mumbai as it is known now, and about the legacy and the legends and the various aspects, the great players and the matches that have gone into Bombay's great success over the years. So let me bring you to that point, because when you began in the late 60s and 70s, that was the phase when Bombay were unstoppable. They won 15 Ranji trophies in a row, through the 60s and late 50s and 60s. So how was it then? How was it then to cover that Bombay Ranji team?
When Bombay would win the toss, the tailenders from Birban Stadium, they would hop across and go for the matinee show of 11 o'clock. They would come back and the score would be 150 for no loss. They again would go for 2:45 show, come back at 4:30. Bombay would be still batting with 350 for 1. There was one incident, the captain Ajit Wadekar himself told me, and there were half a dozen Bombay players over there. The Saurashtra captain told him, why go all the way to the pitch for toss? Why not do it outside the dressing room? If you win the toss, you bat for a day and a half, and you bundle us out within just 40-50 overs, both the innings. You might as well have a toss here. Can you imagine the impact that Bombay had on Indian cricket at that time? For timeshare matches between Mafatlals and Tatas, there used to be a crowd of 10 to 15,000 standing all day in the Maidan. Paul Imbriger used to play for ACC, Paul Imbriger, Bapu Nadkarni, Madhav Mantri, Dilip Sadasai. The joke was, if there was a Ranji Trophy match at the Bribon Stadium and match between Tatas and Mafatlal or Tatas versus ACC, there would be 10,000 here and there would be 10 spectators watching the Ranji Trophy. So strong was Bombay cricket. But the outsiders came and played in Time Shield. So that is how they started improving the game, their game. Because British Patel came from Bangalore, Dheeraj Pasana, Uday Joshi came from Ahmedabad, Parthasarathi Sharma came from Jaipur. The standard of the game enhanced as well as top quality cricket.
Yeah, very interesting. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, especially given that you began your career in the late 60s, was that coincided with the emergence of the great Sunil Gavaskar?
Sunil had the gift of concentration. I don't think Sunil Gavaskar was coached by anybody. He had everything in him, the technique and everything. Sunil got married in 1976. He had invited Conrad Hunt, who was stationed at Panchgani near Mahabaleshwar. He was with some women, and Conrad Hunt came. There were quite a few there in that wedding hall who introduced themselves as Gavaskar's coach. I'm Gavaskar's coach. I'm Gavaskar's coach. Conrad Hunt went on to meet the couple, and suddenly everybody burst into laughter. Sunil, his wife, Sunil's parents. Later on, we came to know, Conrad had told him, I met your 24 coaches. No wonder you are a great batsman. The thing is, he was a terrific batsman. Remember, Kuch Bihar, he would score 100 before lunch, 200 before tea, and he would be remaining not at 260, 270. He was an aggressive player, very, very aggressive player, hooking, pulling, and everything. Later on, played for India. He realized that as an opener, the opposition would be trying to get him out first because the others were not consistent. I wouldn't say they weren't that good, but they weren't that consistent like Sunil. And in 78, he caught hold of one physics professor and drilled some holes into the bat. The thing was, he was using a heavy bat, and he wanted to cut down all those shots of hooking, pulling, cutting, and he wanted to play straight. The thing was, when air would pass through those holes, the bat would become lighter or something like that.
Oh, okay.
He is still not convinced about all the theory. But Sunil always was a thinker. The team that he played for, the other Indian, any other 10, they would discuss something else. But in the other Indian 10, only cricket and cricket. And 1970, when he started, of course, he was scoring those runs. And against South Gujarat, he scored some 320 odd at Pune. Mr. Vijay Merchant, who was chairman of the selection committee, he picked him. That was actually a big gamble. When we went to the airport, there was hardly anybody clicking the photograph of Gavaskar standing with parents because there were all those senior players, Jaisima, Sadasai, Warekar, Ashok Mankad. And he was the baby of the team. When the team returned, the scene was different. Sunil couldn't even walk on the road. So popular he became in Indian cricket. 774 runs. I don't have to repeat that. Ashok Mankad played more for Bombay, less for India. But Ashok Mankad, he was one where he had his theories and his man management was excellent. He knew the strength and weakness of his players. He said, I'm not bothered about the opposition. I must know the strength and weakness of my players, and so that I can use them and optimize their capabilities. But he was a sort of a captain with instinct. Suddenly he would change the bowler. I remember in one Vichi Babu final when Sreekanth came to bat, he threw the ball to Yogeraj Singh and then he took the ball back and gave it to Atul Mehta, who was a leg spinner. And Sreekanth was stumped third ball. That sort of thing Ashok would do regularly. So Ashok Mankad actually had a lot of impact on Bombay cricket. Bombay Ranji Trophy team, Bombay club cricket, the youngsters adored him. Chandrakant Pandit, Rajchandra Rajput, Raju Kulkarni, they adored him. They still say Kaka was the best. Ravi Shastri, I remember he got a pair against UP. And Ashok walked up to him and he said, look, you got a pair. I don't want to see tears in your eyes. There is a light at the end of the tunnel and you will know. Now, Ashok just said, you will know. After a few hours, Ravi was told that he has to rush to New Zealand to join the Indian team. This is what Ashok was. He had no inkling that Ravi Shastri would be called to New Zealand. But he gave that confidence. He would always give the confidence to the boys. And from losing positions, Bombay won the games. I remember there was a semi-final versus Bengal at Maidans. And Bombay were fielding. I think Palash Nandi was bowled. And Sharad Hazare was standing up to the spinner. The bell flew and knocked few teeth of Sharad Hazare. Sharad was spitting blood on the plot. The umpire walked up to Ashok Mankad and said, I think you can ask someone to keep wickets. Ashok said, nothing doing. There's nothing in the rule. And he told Sharad Hazare, even if you die, you will have to keep wickets. The evening, Sharad Hazare could not open his mouth. And he was on a liquid diet. Now, those who have seen Sharad Hazare, he was a skinny person and a brilliant wicketkeeper. Now, a situation came in the second inning, Bombay 150 or 60 for one, and suddenly collapsed. They needed 80 runs with 2 wickets in hand. And when the 6th wicket fell, Ashok turned around and told SK that he will stay there. We are going to win. Barun Barman, seeing injured Sharad Hazare coming, started bowling bouncers. In fact, from both the sides, the bouncers, Sharad survived, Bombay won. The partnership was of 80 runs. So Ashok's that tone in his saying, come on, you got to do it, means you have to do it. It doesn't sort of commandment. You have to do it.
And you mentioned a very interesting anecdote between Ashok Mankad, a young Ashok Mankad, and Paulie Umrigar, who was another great tactician.
That match that was between young Mafatlal team, where they were all 20 to 23-year-old. Ashok Mankad, Brijesh Patel, Paraj Sharma, Eknath Solkar, Uday Joshi and all that. And the ACC team was all experienced, Paulie Umrigar, Bapan Adkarni, Sadesai. I think Mafatlals were ordered for 130. And Ashok tells a beautiful story. As he entered the house, his father, Vinubai, was sitting and he said, "Shu thayu" in Gujarati. That means, what happened today? So Ashok said, the match will be over tomorrow. He said, forget about tomorrow. What has happened today? You must tell me. And Ashok said, we were all out for 130. So Vinubai asked him, what is their score? They are 10 for no loss. Is Paulie going to come next? He said, no. He had not piled up. And he said, look, Paulie Umrigar takes single of the first ball. Yes, Paulie had that thing, that he would tap the ball and say, and he would run, he would not bother about the non-striker. So he said, tomorrow, Paulie is old, so tomorrow he will ask for a runner. Just imagine the prediction of Vinubai. He will ask for a runner. And the umpires will give him a runner. All that you have to say is, don't look at him and say, no. Ashok said, how can I say no? He was the first to visit hospital when I was born. How can I say no to Pongata? He said, if you want to win the match, then you have to do this. It is as per the law. So next day, Paulie came to bat at 4. And as predicted by Vinubhai, Polly said, Ashok, I want a runner. Ashok looked here, there, looked down and said, no. See, he said, what? We're not going to give you a runner. So he called the square leg umpire. So square leg umpire said, can give a runner. Ashok Mankar said, no. He said, my God. Now, Vinubhai also had told him to get everybody on the float in the 15-yard. Okay, because Polly is going to just play and run. Polly was run out for 0. ACC collapsed. There was another incident I have written about Vinu Mankad. Bombay were playing quarterfinal against the star-studded Hyderabad team at Wankhede Stadium. Bombay's top players, 5 or 6 players on the tour of Australia in 77-78. Sandeep Patil's debut as a bowler. Sandeep Patil was always a lower order batsman, and he bowled about 50 overs in that, I think, one inning. Hyderabad had Jaisima, captain, Pataudi, Abbas Ali Beg, Abid Ali, Jayantilal. Hyderabad had taken 60 runs lead. Ashok that night discussed with Vinubhai. And Vinubhai said that 160 runs are enough. You have to declare tomorrow. Now, Ashok came and told Vice Captain Sudhir Naik and the entire team. They said, first inning, these people got out. So they scored about 260. You give 160, we'll lose with half a day to spare. So Ashok was batting over there. And Vinubhai came during the lunchtime. And he found Ashok was still batting over there. So he called Sudhir Naik. He said, tell him, if he does not declare, I will not take him in the house in the evening. So the 12th man ran and conveyed the message. After 2 hours, Ashok declared. Vinubhai entered the dressing room and told Ashok, use Ligi Rakesh Tandon in space of 2 and 3 overs. Hyderabad collapsed. Rakesh took 6 for 60. Just imagine, this sort of thing I've heard from Polly Mrigar, Vinu Mankar, all these predictions, how is to come true? They were great thinkers. They would think strategy. They would think deeply how to get the batsman out. There were no softwares. There was no video analysis and all that.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the tweet that you had posted recently after the Saurashtra during the Saurashtra Bengal Ranji final. You had expressed some surprise that just after Bengal were out in the first innings, even though there was about 70 overs or 75 overs of the play left, Arun Lal was shaking hands with the Saurashtra players as if the match was over. And you had said that this would not happen even in a club level in Mumbai, because they would try their best to go for the win.
Yes, I was really surprised that Arun Lal, with 75 overs to go, went and shook hands and congratulated. Not only that, he came down and congratulated the Saurashtra team. I was really shocked. Bombay, it would not happen. Even if you have to score, say, 50 runs and hold in, no way. They will not congratulate, even at the school level. So I was a bit surprised. Here what happened, his Bengal team saw that. They must have thought that, look, why fight and fall? Match is gone. That sort of thing will never happen in Bombay. No way. No way anybody would congratulate. I mean, 75 is a big game. It's 3/4 of a day. Anything could happen because Pujara was having a back problem. I, in fact, tweeted the 3 spells. It could change the entire complexion of the game. And it has happened in many times in cricket.
Now that we're talking about tactics and Bombay, I have to ask you, often our esteemed Indian coach gets a very bad rap that he's there, he's hardly doing anything, he's not contributing anything to the team. But tell us something about Ravi Shastri's tactical acumen and what he could be bringing to as a coach of this Indian team.
Ravi Shastri, I remember one match. This was 1977 Under-14 Giant Shield final at the Parsi Gymkhana. I was covering that match, obviously for Sports Week. And the opposition St. Mary's team needed about 18 runs with 2 wickets in hand. Ravi standing on those stairs of the Gymkhana, he was very tall at that time, even at the age of 14. And he said in a very shrill voice, "Now or never. Boys, remember that." Ravi got those 2 wickets, and Don Bosco beat St. Mary's by about 8 or 10 runs. Ravi has been very, very limited in talent, but he obviously had tremendous self-confidence. His utterances are to motivate. When he said that this is the best team in 15 years, he wanted to convey that message to the dressing room. That look, I'm going to back and I'm backing it publicly. But our guys started comparing with other teams who were better than this. But this was absolute height of stupidity. Stupidity. He was publicly making an announcement, so the players in the dressing room felt, "Oh, my coach has got our coach has got a lot of confidence in us." That is how the coaches motivate. This is how the confidence level has to be enhanced. Now you tell me, we have won the series for the first time in Australia. Has anybody given credit to him? No. Don't give him credit. Don't criticize him. But he is not going to change. He has not changed. He is the same that he was at 14, that he is now at 57. He is a straightforward chap. He will tell you on your face what you are. And next day, he will not mix up and avoid you. But if you're going to be going after him all the time, then he does not have time for you. That's a human tendency. Siddha, you and I would do the same thing.
Yeah, one of the things that strikes me is that he has always been, has had a certain personality. You write about that famous 1985 final when Kirti Azad tried to wind him up and say that keep the trophy polished for us tomorrow. And Ravi got so upset with that he bowled the Delhi team out the next day. Because
it wickets. Kirti Azad first ball. Kirti told him that, look, keep the trophy polished. We are taking it back to Delhi tomorrow. And from winning position, Ravi got 8. What is that self-confidence? What was Ravi's batting? Ravi used to bat at number 10, 11, 8, 9 and all that. In Karachi, Gavaskar told him that tomorrow you want to open. Imagine, Siddharth, you have never opened in your life, in your school, college, university, state, company, and suddenly Indian captain tells you, and next day he went and scored 130. In fact, till Rahul Dravid scored those 300s in the Tour of England, for 60 years, 70 years, Ravi was the only batsman who had scored 200s on the England Tour. Opener. He was the only opener. And who were the opening batsmen? Vijay Marchant, Mushtaq Ali, Sunil Gavaskar, so many. And nobody has scored 200 in series. He's not the one, Ravi is not the one who will do PR. If you ask a question, he'll answer the question. But if you're trying to get the story out of him, no way he'll do that.
I have to ask you about the BCA-Mafatlal scheme that came in the early 90s. And that is a big part to play in India's fast bowling revolution, that the results of which, of course, we have seen in the last 10 years. But tell us about that and why it began and how Frank Tyson was roped in. And please give us a bit of a explainer.
That match 1984, 84, when Bombay beat Delhi, Ranji Trophy final, about which we talked just now. After that, Bombay's bowling was pathetic. There were no bowlers. Raju Kulkarni and off-spinner Kiran Mokashi were the only bowlers looked like taking wickets. But I found out, yes, Bombay never produced bowlers. Apart from Ramakant Desai and Subal Gupte and Paddy Shivalkar, who did not play for India, all bowlers who played for Bombay came from outside. First Vinu Mankad, then Bapu Natkani. After that, Zahir Khan, Munaf Patel, Karsan Gowri, Raju Jadeja, you name and all the bowlers were imported. Bombay only produced batting, all batsmen. And then I started doing a lot of research. About 25 cricketers who were living in South Bombay and had sold their flats and had moved to the suburbs, far off suburbs. So I went and interviewed them. They said the problem was socio-economic. They said we concentrated on cricket and ultimately got into some of the banks at Clark. Today we have children and we don't want our children to do the same thing. We want them to study. So we sold the flats and we have shifted to this place like Borivali, Dahisar, Kalyan, Borivali and all that. Children have to study. Then the second question was, I said, what about their cricket? They said, no cricket, because there were no cricketing facilities over there at that time, in that part, in suburbs. I prepared a sort of a project report based on those interviews of 25, 30 people. The principle was coaching at the doorsteps. So I presented that project report to MCA president or BCA, Bombay Cricket Association president, Mr. Madhav Mantri. He was quite impressed with the way I presented it, the presentation part. And he sent me to a few sponsors who just didn't bother about it. But some of the newspapers published it, that whatever Mantri said about my project report. One such report appeared in Ahmedabad paper, where one of the Mafatlal, Rishikesh Mafatlal, son of Arvind Mafatlal, read that. And he came and asked Nari Contractor, former India captain who was sales manager in one of the Mafatlal companies, this is very good. And he said, how much you want? So I was just not prepared that Mafatlal, which had disbanded the team in 1982, the entire full Mafatlal side was disbanded, could ever think of sponsoring. So I said about 3 lakhs per year. He told Nari, I think this boy does not know what he's talking about. We are sponsoring it. That time in 1990 to 1993. And then there was a press conference. And Ravi Shastri told Rishikesh Mafatlal, the idea is good. Makarand has brought about some good points. But then where are the coaches? We will have the same coaches. And because of them, we have not been able to produce fast bowlers or spinners. So what is so new about this? Now, somebody came and said, the set wants you. So I went over there, he said, listen to Ravi Shastri, what he's saying. Now, I didn't have any answer. So he called Nari Contractor and told Nari, you fly tomorrow to England, meet your friends. So Nari flew next day, met Peter May, Colin Cowdrey and Keith Andrews. And they said, we don't have anybody here. There is only one person, is Frank Tyson. He's a real teacher. So they called him Frank at Melbourne at that time. Frank was teacher in Carey Grammar School. Frank had bitter memories of Bombay. On way to Australia in 1959, he came out of the docks and he was surrounded by all beggars. He said, I will never come to this country. So he told Nari, look, I don't think I can accept this offer, but this is what happened. Peter May spoke to Frank, and Frank accepted first assignment of 18 days in the month of May. When he came on 15th of April, and he saw all these skinny bowlers, he turned around and told Nari, why are you wasting your money and my time? None of these fellows will ever be able to bowl even 5 quick overs. So Nari said, we don't know anything about fitness. We don't know anything about fast bowling. And that is the reason we have invited you. Otherwise, we would not have invited you. So he said, let me work on them for 18 days. And 18 days was from morning 7 to 12, from 2:30 to 7. Can you imagine this in Bombay heat? 18 days. But wow. he got this thing done, and not 1 minute I saw Frank sitting on a chair. He went back, and those days there were no computer, there was only fax machine. So he gave us a program. Dr. Kinjal Saratwala, who did sports medicine, he was there. And in monsoon, all the bowlers, fast bowlers, spinners, they would run from Wankhede Stadium to end of Oberoi, even during the rains. And come back, go towards Chowpatty. That was almost about 45 minutes to 1 hour run. When he came back again in October, all these skinny fellows had put on good, they look like fast bowlers. Abey, the funny case, on 27th of December 1990, there was a selection trial for Bombay University at the Wankhede Stadium. The rule was every college has to send 3 players. And most of them were rotten, absolutely. But then after 1 or 2 balls, the selectors would throw them out because selectors knew who were actually playing in club cricket. So that list was ready. But because of the rule, they had to see. So Abey came wearing canvas shoes and bowled 2 balls, full toss over the net into the MCA pavilion. The balls ricocheted back to him. Ramakant Desai said, come on, go. So he ran. He was not crestfallen at all. So I told him, I said, look, I run this BCA-Mafatlal bowling scheme. So he said, sir, I'm not a cricketer. I'm a student of engineering. And he ran. I was wondering, this fellow came, bowled 2 balls, and he was not unhappy at all. In the evening, I took his number, Abey's number on my palm. I called up Balwinder Singh Sandhu. He said, oh, he's in the next colony. I'll go to his house. If you're saying he's quick, let me go. So again, he said the same thing. He told Baldu, I'm a student of Engineering College of D.Y. Patil, and I play only tennis ball cricket on Sunday afternoon. So Baldu called me up from his house. He said, you are telling me he bowled fast and came for selection trial. This boy is saying that I'm not a cricketer. I said, I want him tomorrow at Khar Gymkhana. And I was so excited that I told Nari contractor, Naren Tamane. I said, look, I found one quick bowler. So both of them came to Khar Gymkhana. And first bowler, Abey, from length, he just rose and went above the net. And my God, all those other bowlers, Paras Mhambrey, they were in the other net. And they started looking at this fellow. This was 29th of December.
So you found him in December, and in April he was making his Ranji Trophy debut in a final.
Final. It was against Haryana. Bombay lost by 2 runs.
Yeah, the famous final. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
4 months he hardly played cricket. In fact, when Naren Tamane told me and Ballu on the previous day to prepare him mentally, Ballu said, sir, it's too early. He said, look, Ballu, I'm just telling you, both you guys, prepare him mentally. He is going to play tomorrow. The media criticized, especially Marathi media, they criticized. But that day, 4 or 5 wickets fell and all wickets to Abey. And mind you, there were some easy catches were dropped in the slips of his bowling because the Bombay fielders possibly were not used to those sort of catches. Abey should have been on the tour to South Africa in 1992. Instead of that, he went to West Indies when he had slowed down and yet took 5 wickets and we lost the test match. Barbados.
Yeah. After which this podcast is named, by the way. 81 All Out is named after that famous collapse. But yeah, BCA-Mafatlal was very instrumental. Abey Kuruvilla, Paras Mhambrey, Salil Ankola, and also the spinners, Sairaj Bahutule. They all came through that.
Sairaj Bahutule, the previous year, met with an accident. And 2 of his friends, I think, passed away.
Wasn't this Jagjit Singh's son?
Son, Vivek Singh.
Yeah.
And Sai was in coma. Sai had multiple operations. He was on crutches. And every time I would meet him at the Gymkhana, I would say, Sai, I'm going to throw you a crutches. He said, sir, no, sir. My cricket career is over. So I kept on telling him, I said, look, from January, I kept on telling him, 15th of April, Frank Tyson would be coming and you will have to be in the camp. He said, no, sir, please don't force me, sir. But I took him. But I had given everything in writing about each boy to Frank much before he arrived. So Frank knew about Sairaj Bahutule And after the introduction by Madhav Mantri about Frank Tyson, Frank said, "Come on, boys, run with me." And Frank was 61 at that time. And everybody started running, Abey, Salil, everybody. So I could just run 5 years and collapsed. And he said, "Sir, my cricket is over." I said, "Nothing doing." Then Frank ran one round. He said, "What happened to you, boy? Come on, get up." And Frank started on his second run. And Sai was sobbing. That afternoon, Frank alone spoke to him. Only I was sitting over there and motivated him. He worked hard. Today, Sai said, "I had problem running 24 yards. I went on to play first-class cricket for 24 years.
Yeah, terrific story. And it strikes me that the legacy of BCA-Mafatlal and Frank Tyson continues today. I mean, Paras Mhambrey has done a fantastic job as the junior fast bowling coach.
In 2002, there was a 6-week camp of Frank Tyson, and Paras was playing at that time for Bombay. He was captain of Bombay. And Frank felt that Paras, the way Paras was interacting him, let us give him some exposure as a coach. And whole day he would sit with Paras and developed him as a coach. And Paras did well in 2006 and 2007, both the years when Bengal came to final. Paras was the coach.
Along with the MRF Space Foundation, the BCA-Mafatlal scheme is vital when one traces the history of India's fast bowling. And I don't think it gets as much credit as it should. And which brings me to the other scheme that doesn't get as much credit as it should, which was probably even more instrumental in Indian cricket and Indian cricket's rise, which is the Talent Resource Development Wing that was set up in the early 2000s, and you played a big part in that. Tell us a bit about that and how it was set up and how things were before and how things turned out after that.
Sometime in year 2001, I had gone to Bangalore for my work and met Brijesh. And we were just exchanging notes about cricket. And Brijesh had become the secretary in 1999 of KSCA. And I've known Brijesh for so many years because he used to play for Mafatlals. I told Brijesh, I said, "I've got something to tell you." I said, every selection committee, state selection committee, national, we have this 5 numbers odd. Because if you have 4, that means even so, casting vote. Indian cricket were haunted by Vijay Merchants in casting vote. So nobody wanted to try, so they added 1 more. But that politics remained, that nepotism remained. And what would happen was 3 selectors would gang up against the 2 and push their players. And that was going on for a number of years. Suppose if you have played 2 matches and you have scored 60, and somebody has played 2 matches and he scored 65, the guy with 65 would get picked. And there are a lot of criticism. In 1974, Gavaskar and Ashok Mankad, who had opened a month and a half earlier on the tour of England for India, were dropped from the Western side. Some guys were picked as opener who were not good enough to be in the 15. So this sort of thing was happening, and I told Brijesh, I said, look, Karnataka has got about 28, 30 districts at that time. And I said, I see only Bangalore boys playing. Do you mean to say there are no boys in the districts? So he said, no, they all come and settle down here. I said, Brijesh, put yourself in their position, parents' position. Would you sell off your establishment in district and take a risk for one son? What happens to daughter, I don't know. Or what happens to other sons? And shift to Bangalore, which is expensive by their standard. So Brijesh said, do you have anything? I said, yes. I'll send it to you. He said, no. How many days you went to be here? I said, for 3 days. So give me points tomorrow. So that evening only I prepared synopsis, handwritten, and showed it to Brijesh. So he didn't say anything as such. I came back to Bombay, and one day he called me and said, that week only, he said, prepare a presentation. So I said, how do I prepare? I have to go and visit those districts. So he said, what do you mean? I said, I have to tour all. He said, do you mean to say you have to tour all 30 districts? I said, yes. So he said, fine. When do you want to go? I said, immediately. So I traveled 30 districts for 7.5 weeks. And I found half the districts had no cricket infrastructure, not even a ground. It used to be a barren land where they would play all sorts of sports. Tennis ball maximum. So I prepared the report and I created those areas and set up the academy. We have TRDO. So he said, what is TRDO? I said, Talent Resource Development Wing Officers. The wing is the department. So we had coaches who had plus level 2, level 3. Then these coaches from Bangalore would travel, stay in one district for 4 days, coach the coaches and the boys. And then we started playing. So they would pick player on a form they would write, not about the performance, about the technique, about the temperament and everything. One day, Mr. Dalmia happened to be in Bangalore. So Brijesh told him that Makarand has got this something, and within 3 months, the boys from the districts are beating Bombay boys, Bangalore boys. So Mr. Dalmia said, this sounds very, very interesting. I want to speak to Makarand. I was there in Bangalore. I was in my room. He called me down. He said, where is the project report? I said, Brijesh has it. He went through it. Next day in Delhi, he announced. Just imagine. He sat with me for 10 minutes, immediately called up his secretary in Delhi and said, tomorrow call for press conference at 11. I want to announce something. And the TRDO system was announced. Waingankar was made chairman. All former India players, the majority of them who played for India, were the TRDOs. And the whole lot came from that. Dhoni came from that system from Ranchi. 2 years earlier, 31-year-old Sanjay Bangar made debut. After TRDO system, 16-year-old Parthiv Patel, 17-year-old Irfan Pathan, they made their debut. And the 2007 T20 World Cup, almost all of them were from the TRDO system. It changed the face of Indian cricket completely.
As an example, talking about Dhoni, he made his debut in 1999, but he was spotted by the TRDO in 2003 or 2004, right?
Oh, he was 23. And what happened was, this TRDO was supposed to cover till under 19. So the under 19 matches were going on, and Raju Mukherjee, my good friend, he was one of the TRDOs, former Bengal captain, and also another former Bengal captain, PC Podar, who was contemporary of Nari Contractor. He played more for Rajasthan as an opener, played for Bengal too. And they walked down and they found that this long-haired player was just tonking the ball. Now, these players played under 16, 19, under 14, their names fell on the website. We have created a software. So all the data would be fed on that software. So definitely Dhoni's name was not there because Dhoni was 23. So they wrote a letter to Dilip Venksagar, who was chairman. They spoke to Karsan Ghauri. And that time Deep Das Gupta was keeping wickets for Bengal and East Zone. So there was a final between North Zone and I think East Zone at Chandigarh.
Yes, I was there for that final, yes.
Yeah, and they dropped Deep Das Gupta. Dhoni kept wickets and Dhoni scored about 30-40 quick runs. And Dhoni immediately came and got into India A. So India A team that went to Kenya had all these TRDO boys. The TRDO system was such that if I assess one player, The other TRDO would assess differently or say, but those marks were not known to each other. So this TRDO did not know how their colleagues have assessed the same players. But in software, we would get this rating, and anybody who is over 85% is a special talent. So this Dhoni, Parthiv Patel, Irfan Pathan, they came into that category. Then the category B was 80 to 85. And category C was 75 to 80, means you need to groom them more. They were all sent to Sandeep Patil to Kenya. And within 6 months, most of them were going to Pakistan for the series.
Is it fair to say that the TRDO system played a big part in largely eliminating zonal favoritism for selection?
Absolutely. You tell me one thing, 4 seasons Dhoni played for Bihar. He was not even in the 15 of East Zone. And the moment TRDOs picked him, within 1 year, he was playing for India. Boys from the B tier system, B tier towns, emerged from the system.
Sreesanth
The
also,
UP boys.
right?
Everyone, Sreesanth, so many. Raina, Piyush Chawla. UP had no organized structure at that time. There were no tournament. It's a big state. No tournament, nothing. Where could they play? They all came through that system. Because this TRD, and Dilip Venksagar did a fantastic job. He was traveling all the time, watching these boys. And Dilip Venksagar was traveling with the team. He traveled with the under-19 team. He traveled with the India A team to Australia. When Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, they were all say 16 or 17 at that time.
So can you just, some of our listeners may not know, but as an example, like suppose you take yourself as a TRDO, can you give an example of your typical week? How would it go? Would you just watch a lot of games and rate a lot of players? Or?
No, TRDOs were assigned games.
Okay.
But most of our TRDOs were quite proactive. What they would do, suppose if the match is from tomorrow and they are supposed to reach today, the moment they would reach, before that they would inform the chairman of the selection committee or secretary of their respective association that they would like to see some of the boys who have not been selected, and according to them, they are good enough, we would like to see them in net. Look, only one left-arm spinner is in the 11, but there could be 5 who may be equally good, but not fitting into 11. So they went and saw those. And yes, that motivated the players. The nepotism was totally washed out. In fact, Dalmia did a fantastic job by asking Venksagar to attend West Zone selection committee meetings of under-19 and also senior. So when he told Chandu Bode to pick Parthiv Patel, Chandu Bode straight away picked him. Chandu Bode had not seen Parthiv Patel. So he fast-tracked Parthiv Patel and Irfan Pathan. And the moment they did well for West Zone, they were in the Indian team.
So even though a selector did not see as many games, the TRDO person would have seen it and rated that player.
TRDO was watching at least about 20 to 25 days of cricket.
A month.
A month.
Yeah.
And they were Nari contractor, Ashok Mankad, Milind Gunjal, many of them. We did not bother about the runs and wickets. Suppose if 10 for 2, and batsman coming at number 4, how does he handle the pressure? What does he do to get rid of the pressure? How does he perform? Batsman will score 100 if there is a 200 for Nolas. A batsman may score 100. But batsman coming at 2 round 10 or 3 round 15, how does he handle the pressure? Or a bowler who gets hit 20 runs in 2 overs, how does he bowl his next 2 overs? Such kind of the data collection form was there. So they would put 1, 2, 3, those marks they would give. There were 14 or 16 parameters. Maximum was 3 marks per parameter. Dhoni was not watched only one match. They watched lot many matches. And now with 304 teams in 38 association, there are 2,000 matches being played. So now the match referees have become TRDO. Only thing is the match referees really don't have time to assess their talent because they are overloaded with the match referee work.
So in 2006, after the change in the guard and the Sharad Pawar and everyone else took over, that time they disbanded the TRDO and gave that role to the match referee, right?
No, man. They disbanded completely. The system was disbanded. I don't know why.
Okay.
This match referee thing started only 2 years back.
Oh, okay. So between 2006 and 2 years back, what was happening? How was they finding?
Because those players were playing, those were picked in 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006. All those players were playing. Now all those players are now over 32, 33. Dhoni himself is 37. And one of the board officials said, why do you want the TRDO system to be revived? Already 70, 80 players are there. Let them perform.
So is it fair to say that once the IPL started, then the IPL teams would have had scouts who then found many of these talents, like a classic case being
every IPL team they have TRDOs. In fact, John Wright was a TRDO. He went to Ahmedabad and spotted Jasprit Bumrah. John Wright was TRDO for Mumbai Indians. So the TRDO system. In fact, I was with Calcutta Knight Riders for 2-3 years. I heard of the talent, and I would go around watching matches and pick boys, and then Wasim Akram would assess them. But most of the boys were absorbed. Jaydev Unadkat was from that lot. He was 19 at that time. Today he's 28.
So here the point I'm making is that a lot of times the IPL gets credit for people like Jasprit Bumrah and others being scouted. But I think that if the TRDO system had just continued, then there was no way Jasprit Bumrah would have been missed, because some TRDO would have found him anyway.
Absolutely. That is what has happened to Dhoni. Dhoni once told me, if the system had started instead of 2002, 1998, when he was 19 at that time, he would have possibly got one more World Cup. That was 2003 World Cup he would have got.
So my question to you is that now that the TRDO system, I mean, it's been many years since it's been disbanded. So, and what do you see as the current state of talent spotting now? And do you think that the IPL teams have now filled in the breach with their own TRDOs? Or do you think that technology is really playing a big part with all the cameras recording the things? What do you say?
I feel the TRDO system is for IPL fine, but all the matches of BCCI are recorded with 10 to 12 cameras. They are now filtering the talent part and they are discussing it. So the manpower that was required to watch 2,500 matches, they would have been hundreds of TRDOs. So they have cut down with their software. So all the camera feed and all that, and then they will set up a program, they will groom them and all that. So that is a very good thing that National Cricket Academy is doing.
Okay, so they have replaced the TRDOs with more technologically savvy situation where they filter the...
Siddharth, those days there were 400, 500 matches in 2002. Now it's 2,400 matches.
Yeah.
304 teams in 38 associations. Nowhere in the world any cricket board plays so many matches. Thanks to Supreme Court.
Yeah, so I think we can wind up now. I want you to sort of talk about, I mean, we have just finished with the Ranji Trophy season, and we have spoken a lot about cricket in Bombay, but the decade, the 2010 to 2020, that decade, Bombay did win the Ranji Trophy, but it was also one of their least successful decades. And now we have teams like Saurashtra, Vidarbha, Gujarat, all are doing really well. Can you tell us 2 or 3 things that Bombay are not doing right and how they can get back into their dominant position in Indian cricket again?
Let me be frank and blunt. The Bombay Cricket Association officials were highly committed in the earlier years. Now things are totally different. The secretaries are just not bothered about their club standard. Many of them don't even visit their clubs. the tickets, the IPL, and so many things. The focus is more on money and not on development of the game. The Mumbai Cricket Association has a beautiful academy, but the academy, all the tools, equipment are not good. They should follow the National Cricket Academy syllabus. But here, I coach the way I played. That sort of coaching doesn't help. So imagine if Sehwag and Srinath becomes coaches, they would coach the way they played.
Yeah.
And that is what is happening in Bombay. There are no coaches available. There are many matches are being played at the age of 10, 12, which is not the right age to play with hard cricket ball. But nobody is really bothered about it. The selections are miss. Last year, the selectors were sacked by the AGM, something which has never happened in the history of Bombay cricket. Still, things have not changed. The nepotism continues, and some of the fathers are suffering from sunstroke, and they are being promoted by the selectors. These are the reasons Bombay is doing badly, and I have no hope, because the more I see, the more I don't want to see.
Okay. But on that note, on Indian cricket as a whole, I hope the situation is reversed where you have a lot of hope.
Yes, Indian cricket is definitely going in the right direction. India A, and with Rahul Dravid and Ravi Shastri planning those India A and Indian 2 simultaneously, there is always a hope for every cricketer to play for India. And the players who are playing for India, they are also threatened that if they don't do well, there's somebody waiting to take their place. So that's a perfect planning, but something needs to be done with state cricket. And I feel very sad for Bombay cricket, because the legacy, history of Bombay, the tradition, culture of Bombay is forgotten by the custodians of the constitution of the Mumbai Cricket Association. They need to know the history of Bombay cricket. Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Makarand. It's a great honor for us to have you and to listen to your fantastic stories, your experiences, your rich contribution to the game. And I again urge our listeners to follow Makarand on Twitter. He's at W Makarand. I will give the link to his Twitter. I will give the link to all his books and his various articles. Please read him, talk to him, meet him. He's a generous man who is more than happy to meet people who are passionate about the game. He eats, drinks, and breathes cricket. So thank you again, Makarand. This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wonderful.